Hi, this is Jeremy Likness, and I'm going to show you how to convert a Windows Store app written in JavaScript to a web-based app using the open source WinJS project. This is the URL of the WinJS project. It's hosted on GitHub. You can see the README here with full instructions on how to pull it down and build it. And if you're like me when this first came out, you may have gone out to the example site and played around a little bit and got the impression that maybe this is a site that is focused on controls. But it couldn't be farther from the truth. It's actually a full application framework, and I'm going to show you how that helps us with conversion in just a moment. You're looking at the application I'm going to use as an example for the conversion. This application is called Rebuild WinJS, and I literally built it using the grid template. So if you come into Visual Studio and go into a new project, and under JavaScript Windows apps you pick the grid app, this is what I use as a template. But what I did was I modified that template and created basically a slideshow presentation. So this is an actual Windows Store app, but it provides slides that recap what's new with WinJS. So I'm going to run it here and bring it over to the main screen. So you can see here I've got sections of the slides with thumbnails, and those are just image captures that I put in with descriptions. We can use semantic zoom, so if I zoom out I can quickly jump to a section and see what slides are in that section. Zoom in and out, and then I can of course jump into a slide, and while I'm inside I can navigate. I pulled in a navigation framework. I've got buttons to jump between slides, and here I'm basically moving through the bullets, and then I can bounce out and go back to the main menu, and I've got this full navigation stack that's going to take me back where I came from. So for the first step to convert this, I'm going to go ahead and open the project folder. You can see that here. And I'm basically going to take everything here, copy it, and I'm going to make a new project called Rebuild WinJS Web, because I'm going to target the web browser for this. So in this I will paste what I copied and get rid of some of the things I don't need, like bin, build. We don't have a Git repository yet, the app manifest, and the project pieces. We don't need any of those for a web-based project. So we're just going to delete those. And then what I'll do is in Visual Studio I'll open a website, and we'll use this Rebuild WinJS Web. So now we've got our basic website there. So I'm going to open up this default, and let's just go ahead and throw it into Internet Explorer and see what that looks like. And we'll just run it without debugging. So you can see right here we've got an error already. And so we're sort of dying here, and it says WinJS is not defined. So let's take a look at what we need to do to fix that. So the first thing I need to do is unplug from the built-in WinJS that's part of Windows Store apps and use the open source project. So here I've got a folder where I've pulled it down and built it. So I'm going to go into bin, which is the output. I'm going to go into this 2.1 version, and I've got the CSS, the fonts, and the JavaScript that are associated with it. So I'm going to come back to my web project here, and I'm just going to create a new folder called WinJS, and I'm going to paste those assets into the folder. And these are just straight JavaScript, CSS, etc. based on the build. So then I need to go inside my web app. I need to change these references. So in the main page what I'm going to do is just switch this to WinJS, WinJS, and WinJS. So that should pull it in on the main page, and then I'm going to go to the sub pages, and I'm just going to remove them because in the browser-based application it'll run like a spa app, so those references will already be there for me. So I'm going to come here, take it out from here, and finally in the item detail, I'm going to take it out from here. Okay, so let's go back to this and run it. We'll run it without debugging and click OK. And I'll go ahead and type in that initial page. And we get Windows is undefined. So we actually did not get the WinJS is undefined, we got the Windows is undefined error. So let's take a look at what's going on there. I'm looking at default.js. This is the main JavaScript off of default.html that runs the entire application, and right away I see this activation equals Windows application model activation. Well, that is a projection in JavaScript to a Windows runtime component, and if we're going to put this in the browser, we obviously can't use Windows runtime components. So that's going to be the most manual step of converting a Windows Store app to the web, is looking at where you're using Windows runtime components, and some of them you may be able to remove, some of them you may have to find a replacement for. In this case, we have no activation in the web, so I can get rid of that, and we also don't have this scheduler, so I can get rid of that. I know for the web this event is not fired. Instead, I've got an onReady that I can set up, and we're not going to look at any of these arguments. The navigation is still valid. That's part of the framework. We can disable animations, we can process the UI, but we're not going to use this scheduler variable. This is one of the ones I removed. So I'm going to take that and remove that and get rid of this set promise because it's not needed. And we'll close out that method. And then we'll get rid of this checkpoint because there's no suspend in the web, and app start is fine. So all I've done is remove some of those WinRT components. Now I can go back to my web page, and I'm just going to refresh it here. And look at what we have, a fully functional page in the browser of the app. So let's go ahead and try semantic zoom. That works perfectly. Let's drill into a section. We've got our section, and we've got our different descriptions. We've got navigation history. Let's go into a slide. So we've got the original animations. I can step through slides. I can pull my bullets up. I've even got these navigation pieces here. So this has been completely converted to a web app running inside Internet Explorer, no longer running as a Windows Store app, and we did it in really under 10 minutes. And now for the real test. I know you're thinking that's all good and well to see it in Internet Explorer, but what about, say, Chrome? So I'm pulling up Chrome, I'm going to paste that link, hit enter, and as you can see, I've got my title. I've got these come in. Now you can tell that the style sheet hasn't formatted it quite as nicely. I still have semantic zoom, but I've got just a little bit of styling and positioning, but it's still functional. And we can go into a section and still see these portions. And let's go back. Actually, my back button took me completely out of the app, but let's go into a slide. And so you can see my slides work. I can navigate through them, but there's still some styling and some sizing issues in Chrome. Now let's do the same thing in Firefox. Pull up the app, and here we've got the app laid out in Firefox. Let's try semantic zoom. And semantic zoom unfortunately doesn't catch my pinch gesture, it just resizes the page. Let's drill into a section. So drilling into a section seems to work fine. I've got my navigation there. I can go into a slide, and it looks like I can navigate through my slides, pull my bullets, and the prevent default is just not keeping my arrow keys. So as you can see, there's definitely some style sheet issues to sort out, but in a nutshell, really in just a few minutes I was able to take a Windows Store app and run it in 3 different browsers. And the question is, how quickly will Microsoft work on those style sheets so that this is a very consistent experience across the browsers? Pretty exciting.